What kind of mother watches strangers bid on her children? That question tore through Patience Callaway's heart as she clutched her 3 little ones close on the rough auction block. Dawn had barely broken over Leavenworth, Kansas territory, 1858, but the town square was already buzzing with voices, boots, and the cold-blooded business of selling human lives. Patience stood barefoot on splintered wood, holding Thomas, Emma, and little Samuel against her skirts. Her husband had been dead 4 years, crushed in a mining accident that left her drowning in debt with no family and no future. Now the town's answer was to auction her off, then sell the children separately, as if breaking apart a family was nothing more than breaking apart a wagon load of supplies. Next up, Mrs. Callaway and her young'uns, the auctioneer barked. Healthy woman, not yet 30, cook, clean, sew. Children sold separately, starting bid $50. Patience felt sick. Her legs trembled. Thomas, only 7, pressed his small body in front of Emma and Samuel as if he could shield them from the world. "Please," she whispered to the auctioneer, "don't separate us." "That ain't up to me, madam. It's business." Bids rose, 55, 60, 65 for her alone. Then a separate bid began for Thomas. $10 for the boy. "No," Patience cried before she could stop herself. The crowd barely noticed her desperation. Then, through the sea of dusty hats and hungry eyes, a single tall figure pushed forward. His boots were worn, his leather chaps dust-covered, his shirt faded from long rides under the sun. A wide-brimmed hat shadowed most of his face until he lifted his chin. $100, he called out. His voice cut the noise clean in half. The auctioneer blinked. "For the woman?" "For all 4, the cowboy said, stepping closer. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Patience stared at him, weathered but striking features, sharp blue eyes, a jaw set with quiet strength. She didn't know him. He didn't look like a man who bought people, but men had fooled her before. "Can't sell 'em together, mister," the auctioneer insisted. $200, the cowboy said. "For all 4, that's my offer." The sheriff gave a slow nod. No one else offered more. $200, going once, twice, sold. Patience's knees nearly buckled. Relief washed through her, mixed with fear. What did this stranger want? Had she escaped one kind of danger only to fall into another? The cowboy climbed the platform and offered his hand. "Name's Kieran O'Malley. Got a ranch 10 miles west. Could use help. You'll have your own cabin, food, fair wages." "Why?" Patience asked, gathering Emma in her arms. Thomas and Samuel clung to her skirts. Kieran's gaze softened. "Nobody should take children from their mama. Ain't right." He motioned toward a wagon loaded with supplies. "My team's over yonder. We'll head out once I finish loading." As they walked away from the auction block, Patience felt the burning stares of townspeople. Thomas walked beside her, shoulders squared, watching the cowboy with wary eyes. "Mama," he whispered, "can we trust him?" Patience rested a hand on his shoulder. "I don't know, sweetheart, but I'll keep you safe. All of you." Quote. Kieran helped them onto the wagon, then climbed up and took the reins. "Long ride," he said. "We'll reach the ranch by sundown." The wagon rumbled over rutted trails as Patience studied the man beside her. He looked early 30s, strong but not harsh, watchful like someone who'd learned to expect trouble. When she finally spoke, her voice was steady but unsure. "Mr. O'Malley, I need to know what you expect from me and my children." He kept his eyes on the road. Cooking, cleaning, mending, whatever needs doing. Kids help when they're able, but they should have time to be kids. And nothing improper, if that's your worry. You'll have your own space. Patience felt a wave of relief she hadn't dared hope for. "Thank you." The trail stretched long and dusty. Samuel fell asleep in her arms. Thomas peppered Kieran with questions about horses. Emma watched butterflies dance through the tall grass. By late afternoon, the land began to change. Rolling hills, creek beds, trees whispering in the wind. Finally, a small valley opened before them. "That's O'Malley Ranch," Kieran said, a note of pride in his voice. Patience saw a sturdy log house, a big barn, a corral, and a smaller cabin set apart. Smoke rose from the chimney. Fences stood straight and clean. It looked like a place built by hard work, not cruelty. Kieran stopped near the barn. "That cabin's yours," he said, pointing. 2 rooms, fireplace, fresh linens. Water pump out back. He carried their few belongings inside while Thomas explored, and Emma helped Patience unpack. Samuel stayed pressed against her side, shy and unsure in the new space. "It's nicer than I expected," Patience said honestly. Kieran nodded. "Get settled. I'll show you the place tomorrow, explain how things work." When he left, the cabin felt safe, yet unfamiliar. Patience fed the children a simple meal, tucked them into bed, and sat beside the fireplace. Flames danced against the walls, warming her tired body. She looked at her sleeping children. Thomas's protective arm curled over Emma, Samuel tucked tight by her side. They were safe. Together. But at what cost? And for how long? Patience Callaway made herself a promise that night. Whatever waited on this ranch, whatever secrets lay behind Kieran O'Malley's quiet eyes, she would protect her children. She would build them a life. She would never again let anyone break them apart. The rooster crowed at dawn. A knock sounded at the door. Kieran stood outside, hat in hand. "Morning, Mrs. Callaway. Ready for a tour?" Patience took a breath, squared her shoulders, and nodded. "Lead the way, Mr. O'Malley." Patience followed Kieran across the yard with her children close beside her. The morning air was cool and smelled of fresh hay. The ranch was larger than she expected. A bunkhouse stood near the barn, a smokehouse sat near a spring, and several corrals stretched across the open field. Horses grazed peacefully in the distance, their coats glowing under the rising sun. "Most days it's just me running everything," Kieran explained. "Hire extra hands when needed. Roundups, breaking colts, that kind of work." Thomas stared wide-eyed at the horses. "Do you have a lot of them, sir?" Quote, "A dozen or so," Kieran said, smiling slightly. "Raising and training them keeps this place going." Patience noticed the pride in his voice. It wasn't loud or boastful, just a quiet certainty. A man who knew his work and took it seriously. "These here are my breeding stock," Kieran added as they approached the nearest corral. Several horses lifted their heads, ears pricked. "Finest animals I could get my hands on." Thomas leaned forward eagerly. "I can ride a little. My papa taught me before he passed." Kieran looked down at him with something like respect. "Is that so? Maybe you can help me sometimes. If your mother agrees." Patience saw the hope in Thomas's eyes and nodded. "As long as the work isn't too heavy." "It won't be," Kieran assured. "We'll start small." They continued the tour, ending at the smaller cabin. "You'll cook the evening meal and bring it to the main house," he explained. "Laundry twice a week, mending, tending the garden. You'll have time for your own things, too." Patience blinked in surprise. "You mean wages? Money?" Quote. Kieran's expression turned serious. "Mrs. Callaway, I purchased your debt, not you. You're not a slave. You work for me. The debt clears in 6 months if all goes well." Her breath caught. No one had ever given her a chance like that. "Thank you," she said softly. He only nodded and headed to the barn. "I've got a mare due to foal soon. Call if you need anything." The next few weeks settled into a steady rhythm. Patience rose early, cooked meals, tended the garden, washed clothes, and learned the routine of the ranch. Thomas spent every spare minute with Kieran, helping groom horses and learning to ride a gentle mare named Dusty. Emma loved gathering eggs from the chicken coop. Samuel followed his mother everywhere, clutching the small wooden horse Kieran had carved for him. Patience began to notice small things. The way Kieran always made sure the children had enough to eat. The silent check he made each evening to ensure her firewood stack was full. The respectful way he spoke to her, never raising his voice or giving commands. One evening, she and the children brought supper to the main house. When they walked in, Emma shyly offered Kieran a small bunch of wildflowers. "These are for you," she said, "because you're nice to us." Kieran looked stunned for a moment, then knelt to accept them carefully. "Thank you, Miss Emma. They're real pretty." The little girl beamed. During supper, Thomas talked nonstop about Dusty and how he had brushed her all by himself. Patience watched Kieran listening with quiet patience. He showed a gentleness she hadn't expected from a man who worked with horses and carried old scars across his knuckles. After the meal, Patience noticed a piano in the corner of the living room. "You play?" she asked. Kieran glanced at it, his face shadowing. "It was my mother's. She taught lessons. Haven't played much since she passed." "I used to play when I was a girl," Patience admitted. "You're welcome to use it any time," he said, surprising her. Later that night, when the children were asleep, Patience sat on her porch, staring at the stars. The sound of footsteps made her turn. Kieran approached, holding something small. "Evening," he said. "Brought something for Samuel." It was a tiny wooden horse, carved from the smoothest pine. Patience ran her fingers over the delicate shape. "It's beautiful," she said. "You made this?" Quote, "Winter evenings get long," he said with a shy shrug. "Figure the boy might like it." "He will treasure it," Patience said softly. There was a stillness between them, a warmth she didn't expect. She found herself studying him in the dim light, the strong line of his jaw, the softness in his eyes. Kieran cleared his throat. "Headed to the fort tomorrow." "Taking some horses." He hesitated. "Gone 3 days. Jackson will check on you." "Safe travels," she said, surprised by the pang she felt at the thought of him leaving. He touched his hat. "Good night, Patience." Patience, not Mrs. Callaway. That night she whispered the name Kieran in the dark, and wondered why her heart felt lighter and heavier at the same time. The days dragged with him gone. Patience tried not to stare at the road each afternoon, but she did. The children missed him too, especially Thomas. When the dust cloud appeared on the 4th day, Emma squealed, "Mama, he's coming home!" Quote. Kieran rode into the yard looking worn, his beard several days grown. Thomas rushed to him, only stopping when Patience reminded him to give the man room. Samuel waved his wooden horse. Kieran crouched to his level. "You been taking care of him for me?" he asked. "He takes care of me," Samuel said proudly. Kieran chuckled, straightening slowly. Patience saw the stiffness in his movements. "You're hurt," she said. "Just saddle sore." But she saw the scrape on his arm. "Come inside," she insisted. "There's hot water." He didn't argue. That night, Kieran joined them on the porch after dinner. The children played in the yard, laughing under the fading sun. "You run a fine household," he said. "You run a fine ranch," she replied. Their eyes met. Something unspoken passed between them. Comfortable, warm, familiar. Then thunder rolled across the prairie. A storm gathered, dark and sudden. Minutes later, lightning cracked, and rain poured in sheets. The children woke crying. Patience tried to calm them, but the thunder grew louder. A knock came at the door. Kieran stood soaked, concern in his face. "Everything all right?" "They're scared," Patience said over Samuel's sobs. "Mind if I try something?" He walked to the children's room. "When I was a boy," he said, "my mother told me thunder was the clouds bowling across the sky." Emma blinked. "Bowling?" "Sure. Angels light lanterns so they can see the pins." Samuel sniffled. "For real?" "That's what she said." His voice was warm and steady. The next thunderclap came, loud as a gunshot. "That was a strike," Emma whispered. "Best one yet," Kieran agreed. The children calmed. One by one, they drifted off to sleep. Kieran stepped back into the main room, rain still dripping from his hair. "Thank you," Patience said softly. "I've never seen them settle so fast." He shrugged. "Just remembering what worked for me. You're good with them." He looked down for a moment. "Children and horses know who means them harm." Patience stepped closer. "You're a good man, Kieran." Quote. Lightning flashed. Their eyes met. He opened his mouth to speak, but then he stepped back. "Storm's easing. Should head home." "Good night," she whispered. "Good night, Patience." Her name again. Soft, careful, meaningful. As the storm faded, Patience sat awake long after. wondering why she felt safer with him than she had felt in years. Winter crept closer each day, and with it came quiet moments that changed everything. Patience noticed how often Kieran visited now. Sometimes he brought books for the children, sometimes a small tool Thomas needed for chores, sometimes nothing at all. He simply showed up at their cabin door at dusk, asking if they needed anything, lingering longer each time. The children adored him. Samuel ran to him with every new drawing or pebble he found. Emma followed him like a shadow when he checked the garden. Thomas mirrored the way Kieran walked, shoulders back, chin steady, trying to be a little man. Patience saw it all, and she felt her heart opening despite every fear she carried. One crisp morning, Kieran approached her with a seriousness she had not seen before. "Patience, we need to talk," he said quietly. Her stomach tightened. "Is something wrong?" "No," he said, "not wrong." He led her toward the garden, where the tall cornstalks created a thin wall of privacy. Patience folded her hands, waiting. "Your debt contract," Kieran began, "is paid in full today, 6 months of work, as agreed." Patience blinked, stunned. Freedom. Something she had almost forgotten how to imagine. "You and your children are free to go," he said. His voice was even, but there was a strain beneath it. "If that's what you want." She studied him, searching for what he wasn't saying. "And is that what you want?" she asked softly. "For us to go?" Quote. Kieran held her gaze, the truth flickering in his eyes. "What I want is for you to be safe. If staying here does that, then yes. I want you here." Patience felt a warmth rise within her. "We're happy here," she admitted. "The children are happy here." "And you?" he asked, his voice barely above a breath. "Are you happy here, Patience?" She swallowed. "Yes, happier than I've been in years." A smile ghosted across his lips. It was small, but it was real. "Then stay," he said. "At least through winter. Come spring, if you want to move on, we'll talk about it." Patience nodded, though deep down she already knew the truth. She did not want to leave. Not now. Not ever. "Thank you," she whispered, and with that, the decision was made. A week later came the harvest dance. Patience had nothing fine to wear. Her dresses were all thin or patched. Mrs. Whitaker, kind as always, brought out her daughter's old dresses, saved in a trunk. One of them, a beautiful green calico, fit Patience as if it had been waiting for her. When Kieran arrived that evening, with the children jumping excitedly in the wagon, he stopped short when he saw her. "You look," he paused, searching for words that refused to come. "You look beautiful." Patience blushed. "Thank you." The town square was alive with food, lanterns, children's games, and music floating through the air. People welcomed Patience warmly, though a few women stared with thin smiles. Patience ignored them. Tonight was for her children. Tonight was for Kieran. When the music started, Kieran turned to her. "Would you care to dance, Mrs. Callaway?" "I'd be delighted, Mr. O'Malley." He led her onto the dance floor. His hand rested at her waist with a gentleness she had never known from a man. They moved together as though it was something they had always done. "You're a fine dancer," he murmured. "I'm following your lead," she replied. Each dance pulled them closer, until her breath caught every time he looked at her. It felt like the world had narrowed to the warmth of his hand and the steadiness of his gaze. During the final waltz, with the lantern light soft around them and the music slow and tender, Kieran leaned close. "Patience," he said, his voice low. "I need you to know." "Mama?" a small voice cut in. Thomas stood beside them, rubbing his eyes. "Emma and Samuel are tired." The moment slipped away. Later, after the children went home with Mrs. Whitaker and the night ended, Kieran walked Patience to her cabin. Under the moonlight, he tried again. "Patience, I care for you." More than I thought possible. Her heart beat fast. "Kieran, Mama?" Thomas called again, running outside in his nightshirt. The moment broke again, but the truth remained between them, warm and unspoken. Snow arrived early that year. With it came long nights by the fire, quiet laughter, shared chores, and stolen glances. Then, one night, after the children were asleep, a gentle knock sounded. Patience opened the door to find Kieran standing in the falling snow, hat in his hands, his expression soft but determined. "I reckon I've waited long enough," he said. Patience's heart fluttered. "Kieran?" He stepped inside, took her hands and knelt, right there on the cabin's wooden floor. "Patience Callaway," he said, voice steady but full of emotion. "I love you. I love your children like my own. I want a family with all 4 of you. Will you marry me?" Her breath left her in a rush. "Yes," she whispered, tears gathering. "Yes, I will." Quote, Kieran slipped a simple gold ring onto her finger, his mother's ring. Then he pulled her into his arms and kissed her, a tender, certain kiss that felt like coming home. Their wedding took place on Christmas Eve. The main house glowed with candles. Emma sprinkled dried rose petals down the aisle. Thomas stood proudly at Kieran's side. Samuel held onto Patience's skirt with one hand and his wooden horse with the other. When the pastor pronounced them husband and wife, Kieran kissed her with the quiet passion of a man who had waited long enough. The children rushed into their arms, all 4 of them tangled in one warm family embrace. Later that night, under a sky filled with stars, Kieran led Patience to the porch. A beautiful sleigh stood there, polished and lined with fur blankets. "It's for you," he said softly. "For us. For rides with the children. For future memories." Patience touched the wooden side, tears in her eyes. "Kieran," she whispered, "it's perfect." Snow fell gently as they kissed again, the soft glow of lamplight spilling from their home behind them. A home filled with laughter, a home filled with love, a home that began the day a cowboy stepped forward and said, "I'll take all 4 of you."